Okay, well, last night I watched episode 9 of Foundation, and I must admit, yeah, statistically speaking, the probabilities are that I will be disappointed. There's no way that in one episode left, and you got to know that, it's not likely that if, they would satisfy all of their viewers with an extra season, right? You can tell they're spreading themselves thin, and they've mixed up supernatural, magical, scientific, like to characters that are not like this, that don't have cognitive dissonance like this. It doesn't make sense anymore with the mathematics or even the psychological manipulations a little bit that have been part of the plan. So, yeah, I don't know where they're going to go with this, but it doesn't seem more wise to me a story. So I am pretty much expecting to not be that impressed. That, they won't explain all the different things that are different as making any sense for why they chose these differences. Hey, I'm reading this from Robert Sawyer, never read it before. There's a passage I just liked here about the term that I never heard before, the imposter syndrome. I just said to Jehovah's Witnesses today that the wisdom I developed over the years included me developing a lifestyle that included more and more transparency because of the comfort that comes with being a good person openly without selling that image, right? So I only have one face to show others. I don't put on one or different masks. And this makes me very comfortable with myself, and it makes others very uncomfortable around me because the norm is the masks, right? And that includes every category of religious people that think they're different when they're not. So here's a concept I hadn't heard before. It's called the imposter syndrome. The fear that others are going to discover that they don't deserve what they've got, like that person that is the imposter. And the imposters, like in high positions, for example, Pierre Poilievre has got to know deep down he's not smart enough for the challenges of his times. Like, let's say he's going to, become a prime minister. And I think, if he's smart, he's going to self-sabotage a little bit to come in second, right? Because, he knows that this is not... And I'm not saying others are. I'm just saying I think he knows. I think he'll be happy to have made his wife proud to just have been nominated as the leader of the Conservative Party. But to actually expect him to have the systems thinking abilities to run a nation successfully that's not going to be getting worse but getting better is ridiculous, and much less in how our country and all others are interconnected with each other in ways that, leaders that are not systems thinkers are screwed in those positions of leadership because they just don't know how to incorporate that many variables. So, and he says that his wife, in this other character that says he suffers from a little bit of imposter syndrome, and he has a higher position in this organization than his wife, but his wife is immune to it. She's got, she never pretends to be anything she's not. So for me, it just reminds me of, that comfort that I have, and how when our brains do what we believe God will do, to make us feel like others will deserve theirs and will deserve ours. But in fact, other people think the same thing about us going to hell as we think they're going to hell. So, but really it's our brains. I was telling the Jehovah's Witnesses, it's our brains that evaluate us and that allow us to have health through a psychological kind of peaceful stability with our choices every day, and how they add up over time, and how our brain knows when we're in denial or sell an image, and it is judging us. And when the final time comes, it's interesting when people's life flashes in front of their eyes, because let's say they don't die and they come back, it's a close call. You can really analyze whether they were altruistic people or ego-centered people. And unfortunately, the ego-centered people are the ones that are becoming the norm. And Pierre Poilievre is most certainly the type of ego-centered person, ego-centered, who actually just puts on a mask to pretend he cares about other people. But if he understood that, all the hands that he shook over the last few weeks and made promises of his intentions, if he only was a systems thinker that could understand that a lot of the people's hands he was shaking and looking in their eyes, he would have to break those promises, because if you understand how a system works, you can't grant everybody these priorities at the same time, because they're mutually exclusive. So for that, you need to have a systems thinker figure it out, and that's most certainly not Pierre Poilievre or people who sell an image and who put in so many efforts into this. If only others were as good as me, then that effort they put in does not allow them to be anything other than reality compromised.